Fire Brigade hits back at criticism of stay-put advice to Grenfell residents. The London Fire Brigade has responded to criticism of its stay-put advice, questioning whether it is safe to ditch the policy in buildings which seem unsafe. Grenfell Tower residents were told to remain in their flats during the blaze on June 14 last year, a policy which was abandoned nearly 2 hours after the fire took hold. It is feared that delay in switching to an evacuation plan could have cost lives that night. In their opening to the Grenfell Tower inquiry, published today, the service said the blaze posed an unprecedented set of challenges for the fire service operation as nothing of its kind had been seen in the UK. The statement continued, "There are numerous examples in the evidence which the inquiry will hear of rapidly changing conditions within the building, by which smoke, toxicity and visibility radically changed within periods of time sometimes measured in seconds. It follows that advice to residents provided by firefighters within the building, or by officers positioned remotely in the control center, involve assessments of risk which are not of a straightforward and binary nature. In a fire such as that which developed at Grenfell Tower, advice to residents whether to stay or leave involves substantial risk either way. There is a pressing need to address the question whether it is reasonably practicable, in the public interest, to expect fire services to develop operational policy on the presumption that buildings such as Grenfell Tower are inherently unsafe because they have not been maintained in accordance with the principles upon which they were originally designed and built. More than 700 personnel responded to the crisis. The statement said the advice was suitable for Grenfell Tower when it was originally built. What is less clear, in the view of the LFB, is the extent to which maintenance programs and refurbishments over the years have undermined the integrity of the original design and construction principles from a fire safety perspective, it continued. This is a vital aspect of the consequences of the Grenfell fire in the LFB's assessment. Firefighters faced multiple dilemmas and were likely torn on whether to advise residents to remain in relatively clean air or to encourage them to venture into a hazardous and toxic environment and seek escape down the stairwell. The control room at LFB received more calls requiring survival guidance from Grenfell Tower on the night of the fire than in the previous 10 years from the whole of London, the statement said. Commanders would have also had to consider whether evacuation was a feasible option, given the building was not designed to facilitate such a strategy. The statement also said there were no means of effectively communicating with occupants. Firefighters would have needed to use the stairwell themselves and rapidly changing conditions might create toxic and potentially lethal conditions through which residents would be required to pass. Salad cream is going to have a totally different name for first time in 104 years. Man con granddad out of life savings to pay for girlfriend's breast enlargement. Woman says her breasts are ruining her life as she's turned down for reduction, but Pete Weatherby QC said the statement was completely lacking in certain areas. He told the hearing it did not have any hints that the LFB accepted that their operation on that night went wrong or that the events exposed significant strategic, tactical and policy failures, and said the fire brigade should have put the stay-put policy in the tower under urgent, serious consideration almost from the outset. More, salad cream is going to have a totally different name for first time in 104 years. More, rugby player suffers bleed to brain in hate crime by Asian gang.